Hi, Susan.
Woohoo! I'm so glad y'all here. This is awesome. It's so good to see your faces again. Okay, give me, I'm sorry. I wish this was like in real life. I'm tired of Zoom games, but give me like 10 fingers, right? If you can, or if you don't have your audio on, then shout it out. But tell me how you're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being, I'm feeling super, ready for this webinar because I don't know what's coming next. And 10 being, let's get this thing started already. I am so ready to put stuff into action and start some kind of project. Ready? Go. Okay. Anybody who's not on video, feel free to shout it out if you want to, or put it in the chat.
Oh,
okay, thanks for that. Nice. Anything anybody wants to tell me specifically about
Sweden. No, Sweden.
What you're feeling, or what you've been thinking about in the last week? I guess it's been 8 days, right?
I have gotten a couple meetings scheduled because my number was 8 because I'm ready. I'm like excited, but I'm just feeling really tired today specifically. So if like today is the day we're doing everything, I'm not like a 10. But I have a meeting this week with our CEO of my organization to talk about doing this work there. And I found out that we are probably getting another grant at work for a really cool arts and culture program that they've asked me to take charge of if we get it, which is really exciting. And I've got another meeting with like a really great collaborator / co-conspirator of mine who I work with. So I'm excited. I feel really motivated, and I'm setting meetings with people because I don't want to let too much time pass. One, because this grant is due like tomorrow. It's not due tomorrow. Please don't anybody have a heart attack because I just said that. But it feels like it is to me. But 2, I'm just excited and ready to get moving. I feel almost overly obnoxiously motivated after last weekend.
wow. Good for you.
This pumps for Everin.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anybody else?
I scheduled a meeting with my, hopefully my community participant host venue, and that's going to happen tomorrow. And we're going to do some brainstorming. So I feel really good about that. And she's really easy to work with. She's always up for anything. So I'm excited about that.
Yes. Awesome.
Besides the radio program, I am talking with La Casa of Goshen because they are the ones who administer the IDA. I know I just drew mine 2 years ago to buy my home. I was wondering if there's an opportunity to draw it for my art endeavor, and they're going to be talking to me soon about that too.
Keep us posted if you would like. I'm sure everybody else would be interested to hear how that tool works a little bit more. The too good to be true bank account, if you remember.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, I would love to have a webinar about that if I just.
Please.
Okay, I can make that happen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, please.
We got it.
Yes.
Give me a couple of weeks to get some things settled out, but we can definitely make that happen. Thank you, Megan, for sending some updates in the chat. I love that. It sounds like you guys are ready to get started. Let's like learn more about what the heck this whole process is going to be like. Okay. So tonight I am going to walk you through and demystify everything I possibly can about this fellowship process. First thing I want you to know is there are no secrets in our grant making process. If you work with other funders, everybody does things a little bit differently, but the IAC is public money. It is your taxpayer dollars. And so we do everything out in public. All the decisions are made with taxpayers. And so you are going to get actually a really great lesson in grant application or grant proposal process. Is this anyone's first time applying for any kind of grant before?
Yes.
Thank you for that verbal. Thank you, Susan. Awesome. I see you all. That's exciting. This is great. I have seen a lot of other people apply for other grants, right? Like in the year or two following this. The intention here is that this is a very safe place and yet a very professional, or like, I will say, like, well-respected place to get a grant out, to have completed it. And so you can use this for lots of different ways. Yes, it's cash to do stuff that you want to do that helps you reach your goals, but it also will have some requirements that at some point you have to put our logo on something, or at some point you have to verbally acknowledge that this project was funded by the Indiana General Assembly and the Indiana Arts Commission. And that's like a tiny requirement that we'll talk about. But what I want you to know is that this could be a tool for you. Use it for how you want to. And this is definitely something you should be putting on your resume. Not only that you completed the on-ramp creative entrepreneur course, but that you also, when you do get the final confirmation, that you had received the 2021 on-ramp fellowship. Definitely something to put on your resume, or if you want to put it on your website, whatever feels right to you, what feels genuine to you, and what feels like it serves your purpose. Okay, so that's the big picture, right? The other big picture that I mentioned before is that there's no reason that you should not get this grant if you complete the steps that we're going to talk about today, right? And so this grant is designed to be as flexible as it can be for you, and to also just be very purposeful, right? It is primarily to help you move ahead toward your big picture goal using a project that takes place in the next year. So first, let me remind you that every grant has rules and requirements. You guys know this. There's an application that you have to follow some certain directions. There's a budget, right? There's a maximum amount you can request. All of these things are outlined very specifically for you in the beginning and in what's called the grant guidelines. If you ever apply for a grant in the future, grant guidelines are probably a very common thing that you'll find again in any grant. So those grant guidelines, all the rules and requirements for this money, they're printed in your workbook. So you definitely have them. You have them physically. They're in towards the back, and they have like a little orange stripe down the side of the page. They're also online. So I'll show you where to find those again, but that's where you start, right? That's where you're going to start, where all your details will be kept. All right, now I'm sorry, I have to minimize some of you. I won't be able to see all of your friendly faces this whole webinar. So if you are trying to get my attention, yell at me. I will be pausing throughout this whole slide deck so that you can ask me questions. And I'm going to try to give it to you in a really digestible way so that we can get through this step by step, and you will not be overwhelmed by the end of this webinar. You will be ready to go. Okay. So first, of course, you're going to need to submit the application. That's your first step, right? Is you're going to submit the application. This is already assigned to you in the IAC's online system, which is the same system that you used to apply for on-ramp a while back. Lisa, can you just give me a thumbs up if you can see my slides right now? Thank you. I can definitely see Lisa's face. So. All right. Remember that this application has to be submitted by June 24th, 2021, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. So those of you up in the Northwest or down in the South, plan accordingly. That's Eastern time. This is a project grant, right? And a project grant means that it has a start and an end. It's defined, we're going to accomplish something here, and I'm giving you the plan up front. It's different than just like what, if you are a nonprofit, sometimes you can ask for operating support, right? Or if you're an individual artist, you might receive some kind of like a unrestricted funds. That's different than this, right? This is for something specific that has a start and an end, and you tell us what you're going to do up front, and then you do it. You do what you outline in the application. This is an intentionally accelerated, pun intended, grant timeline where you are going to submit this grant pretty quickly, right? You have done a lot of work in the last 8 days, last like 11 days, right? A ton of work mentally. And this is going to ask you, all right, time to make some decisions. What's one thing you're going to do in the next year to help you move in that direction? So it is intentional that we're asking you to put something down. There is some kind of public accountability in it. And then we're going to make sure that you are able to actually get that done. And then we're going to follow up about it, right? I'll explain more about that in just a second. That's not to say that there's no wiggle room at all. Not at all. Of course there's wiggle room. This grant is designed to be useful to you. So you do still have to fall within the rules of the guidelines. But if you propose the most amazing project and you have researched everything perfectly and all of your partners are in alignment, and then 3 months down the road, something in your life changes, or maybe another light bulb went off in your head that you discovered, oh, my plans may need to change a little bit. That's when you call me. That's just when you call me and we figure out how to adjust. There can be modifications made to your proposal after it's been approved, but you need to talk to me first. It still has to fall within the guidelines. It still has to help you reach your goals. We just need to record it. Just do a little bit of easy paperwork. Make sure that you're on the same page with the IAC, but we can make that work. After you submit your application, then a group of panelists are going to review it. They're going to read it. You submit it in the online system. Lauren and I, you met Lauren over the weekend, are currently recruiting a group of panelists, which we actually really see those panelists as potential mentors for you, right? To read your application and ask some critical questions. Like we're training them to compare your proposal to the grant criteria, the fellowship criteria. We'll go into those in depth in just a moment. But they are looking for ways that your proposal, they're making sure that it does meet those criteria, which are that it's feasible, that it helps you reach your goals, and that it uses some kind of community engagement process along the way. Again, we'll go into exactly what we mean in just a moment. So those folks are going to read your application online through the online system, and they're going to score it. They're going to be looking for those criteria. Their whole purpose is to help you refine that proposal and give you advice so that you can use this grant to the best use for you, right? They're not trying to look for holes to poke in it. They're looking for ways that either maybe they've been there before, maybe they've done this kind of work before, maybe they are a little bit more experienced in some of the technical aspects that you want to learn about, or maybe they know different people or different places that you might be looking to help you reach your goals in this grant. Those are the kinds of things that they're going to be sharing. They're going to be looking for that kind of information to share with you and to make your proposal stronger. They may identify some things that really need to change in your proposal before they advise us to go into contract with you, right? And so what we call that are required modifications. So those are things like, whoa, Lenny, we know that you totally forgot to think about the venue permitting before you can take that amazing photo shoot that you were thinking of, whatever it is. So we're going to need you to go back and just make those adjustments to your budget, to the expenses for your project before we can finalize a contract with you and before you can start your project. Super easy. We just do that before you sign your contract. My dog and my roommate just got home, so everybody give a little wave to little Chano. She may come in and out. All right, so again, that's something that you and I will work together to finalize. There's not usually major changes or major required modifications that you'll have between when the panelists review it and when you go into contract. Generally, they're pretty manageable. But again, that's literally what they pay me for, is to help you work through those things and to help you reach your own goals. So like I mentioned, these panelists are going to review these applications on their own time, but they're also going to meet together in a public meeting. Because remember what I mentioned before, everything that we do here is in public. Everything that we do in this grant making process is designed to be completely transparent. So they're going to meet together in a virtual public meeting to discuss each of the applications that they reviewed and the ways that they think, oh my gosh, Lisa's doing the most incredible work here. I can't believe how she designed this proposal. I just want to commend her and give her a pat on the back. And also maybe she should think about a more effective use of her marketing dollars, because I'm not quite sure if that's a realistic estimate, right? Those are the kinds of comments that they might have in this kind of a meeting. That meeting's going to be recorded. It's going to be live streamed on Zoom. You're welcome to watch it live. You are not required. I would encourage you to, whether that's live or whether that's another time when you're watching the recording, but it's just for transparency. It's not something where you will come in and provide more details or give a grand presentation about it. It's not that at all. It's just for you to observe the decision-making process and understand, really to hopefully get some advice and to make your proposal even stronger. Okay, just a couple more things and I'll pause, and I'm sure you have questions, but feel free to throw your questions in the chat as they come and I'll follow up. Oh, I just talked about this. The panel is going to meet online to discuss and give feedback. Then you may have required modifications to address based on some of the things that they discussed. I just talked about that. You might also just hear something that they recommended, but we don't say is required, that you decide, you know what, that's good advice. I think I actually do want to take them up on that suggestion. So I actually still want to modify my proposal a little bit. Awesome, love it. Want you to put your best foot forward and to have the strongest foundation you can for your proposal. So you do have the opportunity to make modifications, even if they're not required, after the panel gets that feedback. And then you fill out one more online form, and then the fellowship period begins. You're off to the races. That's the timeline for all of these are generally, you'll submit this is exact, right? You submit your application on June 24th, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then the fellowship panel, the panelists will review your applications for a couple of weeks. And then they'll meet together the first week of August, most likely, the first week of August. I will share all of those dates with you as it's scheduled so that if you want to watch live, you can. And then they'll make their recommendations. I will summarize some of the details and get all of the paperwork and announcement ready for you. And then there will be a formal announcement that you have received a fellowship. Wink, wink, of course you have, but wait for that official announcement. Okay, let's go through the proper steps of it. And then that will be probably mid-August, right? And then you will have a couple of weeks to finalize any required or other modifications that you just want to make. And your fellowship period begins September 1st. That doesn't mean you have to start your project on September 1st. It means you can start it on September 1st. September 1st is the date that you can start spending your money. It still may take a couple of weeks before that money to hit your account, but anything that you're going to count as the fellowship expense should be spent after September 1st. All right, let me pause. What do you have for me? Questions? We've still got a little bit to get through, so don't worry, there's still more information to come, but what are you thinking about?
So you mentioned that we can get the logo of the fellowship put on our website. Are we gonna get an official one, or did we just makeshift?
We definitely have an official logo for you to use, Idris.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Make sure you wait until you get the final, yes, you got the grant. Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna
Yeah.
wait. Thank you, Anna.
Yeah. I'm glad you're excited about that. What else?
I have a question, Anna. It's Heidi.
Hi.
When you say that the panel meeting is public, does that mean it's open to us or does that mean it's open to the public?
Everyone. I don't usually have random people joining that meeting to watch just for fun. Although I will say some like graduate students have observed our panel process in the past.
I have observed one too myself on YouTube.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good for you.
It was live then.
Riveting, right?
Yes.
So it's public, Heidi, but it's very rare that I get anybody who's not personally invested in it.
Okay. I love this idea of the possibility of these folks being mentors to us. I don't know if this is the right venue to talk about that, but I would love to hear how that's worked out in the past and what we might think about in terms of that. I suppose we can just use the materials we've learned about finding a mentor, but I'd be more curious about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, it's a kind of a formal relationship, right? They are technically grant reviewers for us. So they're required to maintain confidentiality about your contact information. In fact, we don't even share your contact information with them. It's all hidden. And we ask you not to contact them before or during the process. But if something that they said really sparks something with you and you want to follow up and maybe grab coffee with them or something, reach out to me and I'll ask, hey, is it cool if I connect you with Heidi? Then I'll introduce you over email and you guys can have a really lovely, happy ending together. A very lovely life. And the same for the other direction. Like if somebody, I have seen this happen before, where somebody reviewed a grant application for a filmmaker who, and this panelist works for a media advertising agency. And this filmmaker who he was reviewing grants for, she had some really incredible reels, right? She was really talented. And so months down the road, when he was looking for a contract videographer to work for him, he asked me for her contact information and I introduced them and it turned out to be a paid gig for her. So this is definitely like some kind of weird networking opportunity, but don't worry about that, okay? Your primary goal is to put together the proposal that helps you reach your career goals. And this is a fabulous way for panelists to do your best work.
Hi, everyone. I also have a question in concerns to filling out the grant or this proposal is what looks better to give yourself wages and buy the equipment you needed and then use the equipment as your write off of your wages and reinvestment, or to ask for the equipment and less wages, or get the equipment and volunteer your time based on what your project is, since it could possibly be like a public engagement, hands-on situation.
Great question. I've had a couple people ask this question. ultimately, there's no specific guidance given from the commission up to you all about what you should include. So the panelists are not supposed to be looking for like, have they included a stipend? But there is an overall question about like, is this project feasible? Is it something that they can absolutely pull off? So to give you a little bit of like guidance, I guess a little bit of like guardrails to fall within is it clear that you're going to be working yourself to the bone for 9 months straight and that you are not going to be sleeping at all and you're not going to be getting paid? That would be something that if I were a panelist and the way that I'll train panelists, I would want them to call out, right? We would want them to be looking for overall, does it seem feasible for you? Now, have you made it clear in your maybe resume or just a little bit of the short narrative about what your creative work is like, that you often do sprints of production seasons, right? That there might be a week of time where if you're like a theater art, a performing artist or something, it's tech week and we know this is a crazy week. Maybe the part of this is natural to your practice and you will be prepared for it. It's certainly subjective according to what your project's going to be, what your kind of creative work is. Now, personally, I would advise you to, if you can, take some stipend. There's no reason not to. That's what this grant could be for. But you should kind of show in the breakdown why the amount, right? Is it whatever's left over? Is it that your work is typically valued at $600 per finished work? You can pay yourself like that, but just give us a little bit more detail of how that breaks down.
Can I ask a question based on that?
Yeah.
So if I, for example, wanted to create a body of work and do a show where those works are going to be for sale, aren't we kind of getting double paid if we create a stipend for ourselves and those works sell? Like whenever we pay ourselves, are we trying to pay ourselves the full value of what we create? Or are we taking into consideration the amount that it might sell for?
Well, I think that might be a specific question that we should work out if we get there. I can help you pull together a proposal that is really clear to the panelists what you're doing here. But there's no specific restriction on that. You can sell the work that you're creating in this grant.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'd say like sketch out your dream scenario first, and then
Okay.
if it's an issue, then we have built in those opportunities to modify it.
Okay.
You're not going to lose the opportunity.
What if the piece of work is being donated to someone as part of the public engagement?
That's acceptable. That's fine in the grant guidelines. That's totally your call if you want to do that. Not required. Okay, I'm going to keep moving, but as you have more questions, throw them in the chat. We'll do another break for questions here in a little bit. All right, so I mentioned the grant guidelines briefly at the very beginning. Those grant guidelines are the rules and requirements for any grant, right? And they are in your workbook, your on-ramp workbook. They're also found on the website here. You are the Greater Lafayette Cohort. You are the Greater Lafayette Cohort. You remember we're doing lots of other workshops this summer, and they fall under just slightly different timeline. That's the only difference. So let's take a look at the fellowship guidelines. Okay, Christina, will you give me a thumbs up if you can see a web page? Cool, thank you, appreciate that. Okay. This is the on-ramp web page. As we scroll down here under fellowship, I'm clicking on download the full guidelines, and here's a PDF of exactly the same thing that's in your workbook. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit and just highlight a few things. Here's your timeline. I kind of gave you a verbal sketch of this before. I told you a little bit about the review process. Now let's talk about the review criteria. I mentioned before, these are the things that the panelists will be looking for: goals, feasibility, and community engagement. Your proposal needs to embody all of these things. First, let's talk about your goals. The panelists are going to be asking themselves, like, does this proposal describe and showcase their creative work in a clear and compelling way? Anybody have any ideas on how you can describe your creative work in a clear and compelling way? Maybe something you learned from Elaine?
Your UVP, right?
That's right. Well done.
Okay.
This is a
Unique
great time.
value proposition.
That's exactly right, Idris. Thank you. This is a great time to break out that bad boy and then maybe also expand a little bit more about what you mean. The folks who are going to be reading your proposal, assume they know nothing about you and nothing about your creative work. So you're going to need to connect the dots for them logically. You're going to need to kind of lay it all out there for them, like you are a stranger. Secondly, goals, and they're going to be looking for, does the project have a clear goal that will help you reach your bigger picture creative career or creative business goal? So you have these big dreams. You're going to share the little bit of them in this application. And then you should also have a clear goal for this project. And those two things should be related. Remember when you guys planned how to plan a party, how you were going to run the marathon, or how you were going to get to space? It's the same process, different context here, right? You are going to space by formulating a whole different approach to your visual arts work that is a really incredible, comprehensive therapeutic method for folks who live in transitional housing. That's going to space. Now, what are you going to do in the next 1 year to help you get there? Secondly, it should be feasible. This is the easiest part, hopefully, the most straightforward part. Your timeline should be realistic. It needs to start and end within that fellowship period of September 1st of this year and August 31st of 2022. Doesn't have to take that entire 12 months. It just has to start and end within that period. You are going to, in your application, plan out all the details. Who's involved? What kind of equipment might be involved? Where is it going to take place? Are you going to need any assistance, or are you going to need any specific training or other kinds of support in order to pull it off? I'm really good at thinking through all of those things and asking you those questions. So if you find it difficult to, if you're a really good big picture person, but you find it difficult to narrow it into the specifics, I'm your girl. Give me a call. I can ask you all the questions. Third, your budget needs to be realistic, should include all of the costs involved to go to space, and all of the expenses that you include in your project budget have to be eligible expenses. I'll talk about that in just a second. Community engagement. In this area, we want you to use community engagement in your project in some way. Community engagement is mutually beneficial two-way relationship that could be potentially ongoing. So it doesn't have to be, you're giving free workshops to kids in YMCA. That's amazing. So great. You don't have to do that. It could be that you're helping another ceramic artist build a wood-fired kiln, and also other potters in the area are getting together to do that at the same time. Oh, that's amazing. Awesome. It could be that you are putting together a really intentional process for learning about how people would find you on the web. Maybe you're calling up 10 people and saying, how do you usually find people that you contract with? That could be community engagement. So you need to use community engagement in some way in your project. Elaine has done a really nice kind of crash course in community engagement for a grant proposal. I'll send you that link. I think it's like a 12-minute video or something. So it could help you spark some ideas of how you might already be doing this in the course of your fellowship grant. Secondly, community engagement is all about relationships, right? So we're going to be looking for how investing in these relationships will help you reach your goals. This isn't just about doing something nice for the neighborhood, although it may be part of what makes you successful. This should be also like mutually beneficial, right? We know each other well enough to know that this is a good partnership, it's a good fit, and we both are moving forward together, or moving forward as a result. Okay, there is some fine print that you should check out. You are all eligible as long as you're still living in Indiana and you're still older than 18. The eligible expenses are basically anything, pretty much anything, except you can't use it for things that are unrelated to what you want to get done. You can't use it for operating support for an organization. You can't use it for travel or expenses outside of the US. And you can't use it to participate in a degree, in any kind of tuition or fees for a degree granting program.
Oh.
Question,
Okay.
please. Can
Some
I go
questions?
ahead?
Go ahead, Idris.
I was planning to use mine for the Creative Nexus, and that is going to take my career to the next level because there's opportunity to license my work into other works, into other creative works. But the event is happening in Rwanda, Kigali, Rwanda.
Yeah, you can't use the expenses to travel there.
Okay.
But there may be other things that we could help with. So let's follow up, Idris. You and I can think about what this could be used for.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was planning to go to Kenya.
Yeah. Sorry. Glad we
That
talked.
makes two of us. So, okay. I'm glad I'm on the chat tonight. Thank you.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay. The other things that you should know exist, and feel free to dig into them if you want to, are these things here, right? These are kind of like those when you subscribe to some new streaming service and you hit I agree before reading anything. These are the basic things that are in things like that, right? So feel free to dig into these requirements of any IAC grantee. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. This is important. Your grant is going to come in 2 payments. You will receive 75% of your total grant award upfront, so probably like mid to late September. And then you will receive the remaining 25% when you have finished what you said you were going to do. And then you also, once you have finished your final grant report. Okay, so I'll get to that in a second, but make sure you hear this. 75% will come up front, and then the remaining 25% will come after you've completed it. So plan on that with your cash flow. If the remaining 25% feels like more of a reimbursement.
Mhm.
You will have a final report to submit. I do read every single one of them, and I make a big deal out of sharing out to the whole staff about the amazing things that you do. We love to hear your stories. We love to see photos. So this report is, again, it's a specific form that you will have to fill out. So please don't go off and create an amazing 50-page document that documents everything that you did. We don't need something like that. There are some hard numbers. We'll need you to count people who are involved. We'll need you to know exactly the counties where things took place in Indiana, things like that. But then we're also going to ask you some more reflective questions, maybe 3 or 4 reflective questions about what this project was like for you and its impact on your goals. That's due by September 1st, 2022. There is a typo. September 1st, 2022, before 4:30 p.m. So that's just the day after your fellowship period ends, right? If you're finished, if you complete everything that you said you were going to do in like December of this year, awesome. Fill out your final grant report. You get that remaining 25% when you fill it out and you're done with your project. Okay, like I mentioned before, if there are things that need to change, just call me. We need to document it and we can usually accommodate what you need to change. What other questions do you have about anything I've just said?
To be clear, after September 1st, after we get that initial 75%, if our expenses exceed that $1,500, and we have to pay for things out of our own pocket, we can reimburse ourselves after we get the final payment. Okay.
Correct.
All right. It's just nothing before the grant is awarded.
Yeah, don't go buying that big old sewing machine before on like August 25th because we can't count it for this grant. Okay.
Okay.
So if we order a number of supplies and we don't use them all because we need to have extra for room and of air, does that affect our overall budget that we said we bought all this stuff, but then we didn't use everything because it was left over? That's
No.
fine.
It's fine. Yeah. I mean, upfront, you're going to outline what you want to spend the money on. And if the panelists are like, I've done that kind of work before, and listen, they don't need 1 million ping pong balls. They probably need 500 ping pong balls. Then we're probably going to ask you to change that up front.
Well,
But-
paper just comes in like you get X amount of sheets together.
Yep.
Also on that, if your 25% payment is coming after January 1st, how are you submitting tax information about us since it's after the 1st? Since the project goes technically over 2 physical years instead of, and within
Yep,
one.
great question. So you've completed a W-9 form, which is your tax form to receive contract work, right? So you've completed a W-9 form. We are partnering with an organization that's kind of like the Indiana Arts Commission, but it serves several states. It's called Arts Midwest. So your payment will technically come from an organization called Arts Midwest. So your W-9 form is filed with Arts Midwest is going to receive, complete your W-9 form, and they will be sending out your 1099 tax forms when that time comes. So you will get essentially, if you get, that kind of depends on when your payments are made, right? You're going to get 2 payments. So you'll get your first payment, you'll get your 1099 in January, February of next year, right? And if you complete your whole project in 2021, you'll get both payments, then that 1099 will include both of your payments. Right.
Okay. Otherwise, it's over 2-year period of time is what you're saying.
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
And we can use technically the last 25% of as our wage.
You can use, I mean, you're going to complete a proposal that is for the full $2,000. So if you want to include some artist stipend in all of that $2,000, that's great. But the last 25% of it isn't going to come until, the whole 25% is going to come until it's actually complete. So however that cash flow works out for you, that's fine on your end. Excuse me, that's fine for us, how you make it work on your end. But it's a good thing for you to know and plan for ahead of time. Okay. What else? Okay. All right. So we talked about criteria. How do you find your application? If you have had this question, you are not the only one and you are not crazy. It's not the most intuitive thing. I'm sorry about that. You're going to log back in to our online system in the same place where you logged in to apply to this program. I can send you all a link again if you'd like right after this webinar. I'll send you, how about tomorrow? I'll send you a recording of this, and I'll also send you a link where you can log in. This is an easy-ish link to get you there. in.gov/arts/login.html. That's Indiana Office of Technology making things almost easy.
Hannah,
Yes.
there's also a link in the Facebook group.
Awesome. Thank you to whoever posted that. Appreciate
I
it.
did.
Tanya did.
Tanya,
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I just bookmarked that login page, so I don't have to remember. So I would recommend doing that too. So when you log in, this is what you see. Right now we're looking at Corey's. Thanks, Corey, for letting us look at your dashboard. You can tell that Corey has an active request down here on the bottom of her dashboard. This is where you're going to open up your application. You've already applied to OnRamp. Ignore where it says 2021, and I'm sorry if this is a small text for you. You are in OnRamp 2021 Greater Lafayette, so you don't need to apply to OnRamp 2021 again if you find that somewhere. You need to come here to your dashboard, locate OnRamp 2021 Greater Lafayette on the bottom. Over here on the right, click Edit Application. Click Edit Application, and that will take you to the application for the fellowship. Okay, here's what's next. Just fill out your application. Just get something on paper. Don't wait. Do that sooner rather than later. Go in there and answer the easy questions. And as you know, the questions may prompt you to think about things a little bit differently than you had initially, so that you don't have to have a perfect concept before you start typing it in. The online system saves everything automatically as long as you're signed in, as long as you're connected to the internet. So just go ahead and get started in that online application. Start filling out your answers. I can view your application as it's being completed. At any time, I could log in and see what you're seeing. So if you ever just have a question where you're like, I don't really know what you're asking for here, or I'm not really sure if I'm explaining myself well, Anna, could you look at that and tell me what you think? Yes, I can. You don't have to send me a Word document or anything like that. You can fill it out directly in the form. If you want me to pretend like I'm a panelist and review your application, put on my hat where I'm trying to look for things to improve or trying to make sure that it aligns to the evaluation criteria, I'm happy to do that. If you would just fill out your entire application, pretend like it's the thing you want to turn in, and then let me know that you want me to review it by June 17th. That gives me about a week to read it and also gives you time to make any changes that you need to. So that's just advice on my end. My comments are just to help you strengthen your application before it gets to the panel. And you're going to submit it by June 24th. Don't wait until 4:25 p.m. or 3:25 p.m. I know everybody, and you're not alone if you find yourself late in the afternoon on June 24th still proofreading. It's okay. You're not the only one. Everybody does it. But save yourself some anxiety and just go ahead and do it the day before. Pretend like the day before is the deadline. And then you can watch your panel review live or recorded, and I will send you those when they come, when I have scheduled them. Okay, last minute tips. Keep that criteria front of mind. Remember what the panelists are going to be looking for. Pretend like they don't know you and they don't know anything about you. And lay it out for them really logically. Go ahead and pretend like they don't understand how much paper is required to make a book, and help them understand that, right? The people that I'm training to be panelists are will be other professional creatives or creative entrepreneurs like you, but they may not be in your head, right? So just think about how you're communicating yourself to someone who doesn't know all of your processes. Secondly, answer the question. I've done my best to refine this whole application process so that the questions we're asking give the panelists the information they need to say, absolutely, yes, they covered all these review criteria. Don't wait till last minute. Assume the reviewers know nothing about you. And it does help to have somebody read over your application for spelling, grammar, or missing information. Somebody besides you, maybe somebody who enjoys that kind of proofreading. If you have any technical problems at all, just call me. I am happy to make it work for you. Sometimes I just will load up the file for you, right? In the past, I totally have met somebody down for tea downtown and we just chatted. We just talked about what he wanted to propose and I typed some things in the application for him just to get him started, right? If you find yourself in a similar place where just it's a real block for you to have to navigate that online application, give me a call. I would love to make a road trip to do some grant writing. What else? What other questions do you have?
Would it be okay or appropriate in our grant application here to, since you said assume that they do not know us, would it be appropriate to have a website link or a link to something that they can view, or should we not be doing that?
You can, yes.
So they can actually see what we do if we can't completely describe it in the way that they would understand.
That's right.
Okay, perfect.
Heidi. You're muted, Heidi.
Yeah, so I had a couple questions. One, I was reading over my application and I feel like some of this is already like describing my work is in my application. Will the reviewers have access to that, or can I cherry pick some of that and move it into my fellowship application?
Great question. They will not have access to your original application into OnRamp, but you can absolutely, you can do that. Let me show you how to find it. You can go back and copy and paste if you want to.
Okay.
Okay, let me back up some slides. It's very similar to the way that you open your application, right? You click this highlight thing to open your fellowship application.
Yep.
Your LOI is technically the thing that you filled out to participate in the program. So if you want to view what that is, just click this blue link instead.
Okay. All right. And then my other question was just about formatting and words. Like, is there a limit to words? And also, if we format with bullet points, will that come out? Will that look funky to them? How do we make it easily legible?
Mm-hmm. Great question. There's a limit of characters.
Okay.
I believe there is plenty of room for you to explain what you need to. It is always best to keep it concise and clear. We love bullet points if that helps you become more clear or concise. It does not, the online system does not have a lot of functionality for formatting. So you may just think about using the dash in a space instead of a bullet. So if you are writing something up in Word or another word processing program, and you just copy and paste it in, just make sure you read over it first and that it looks the way that you want it to, because it may not paste perfectly.
And no, thank you. That's very helpful. And then are those the numbers of how many words you have? Is that inside of each of the little box?
Exactly.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Question for you.
What you got?
In the application, if I'm not mistaken, it asks for a resume, and then another question asks for a CV.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's the same question. So you can submit, some people do feel that there is a difference between a resume and a CV, but looks like here we're just asking for an artist resume. And by that we mean some kind of organized list of your past experience that helped you get to where you are now, right? That could include education, could include employment or other kinds of work. It could include presentations, shows, performances, exhibits, craft fairs, gallery representation. It could include any of those things. One great example, a couple of years ago, I had a visual artist who her project was to redevelop her website so that it featured more of her story and her client stories. And she realized that, gosh, I may have only been doing this creative practice for maybe like 5 or 10 years, but I've been running a small family business for 25 years. Yes, that's relevant to this now. So you can include things that are not explicitly artistic. You should include any kind of experience or training or production that helps you, that shows that you have the skills and experience to pull off what you're proposing.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
When you propose community engagement, is it better to say you're doing a presentation or a demonstration? In this case, that's what I'm going to be doing, probably 3 different ones. I had another visual artist who's an educator. He suggested inviting specific groups like the elderly at a nursing home or retirement community, or like boys and girls clubs, so that it's a little more recordable as far as specifically who came and how many. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's great. I think that's very smart.
Okay, thank you.
That's a very helpful way to think about community engagement. You may decide to cast your net very wide and invite the whole world to your demonstration, or you may focus your energy on 15 people you know will love it and will definitely show up. I think that's smart. Those are different ways to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Megan, thank you for your question. For some questions, I've written larger paragraphs, and other questions, I only have a small paragraph. Is that okay? Yes. Answer the question. Then if you've answered it, that's great.
What
I have a
about
question.
the intern?
I heard 2 voices. I know I heard Tanya. Tanya, you want to go first?
Okay, this one is about the community engagement part of it. I would like to take the work and actually put it in like a gallery show. Now, is that considered an engagement by trying to get it into 1 or more gallery shows in various areas?
Yes, I believe so. In that it is helping you build new relationships with folks who are not existing inside your studio or inside, in your head. It's kind of helping you get out into the public a little bit more. Now there are lots of ways that community engagement will happen in that process, Tanya, because you'll probably have to approach a gallery manager or somebody who runs that arts organization and help them understand your work and why it fits with what they're looking for. That's community engagement. You might be thinking about how you're going to get the word out about this show and who might be especially moved by it and want to attend, or maybe want to move along the customer acquisition cycle, follow your work, purchase a piece. All of that thinking about it and planning about it, and following up and writing the social media posts, or going to the library and posting those flyers, or going to the music store and posting those opportunities. All of that is community engagement.
Okay, thank you.
And who else was trying to speak? I couldn't tell.
It's me as usual.
Tony, okay, what you got?
What about using an intern when we're considered a fellow, and if we apply for a separate grant for the intern, or is the intern considered our community engagement? What about using an intern? I'm just curious about, has anyone done that, and does that work, or does that not work? For
Sure.
this type of
Yeah,
project?
you can use an intern in this project. You can decide to, if you want to, you can pay that intern from part of this project. I if the intern is included as part of your proposal and making it feasible, their work and their contribution of time to making this project happen, then you probably should be certain that they're going to participate, they're going to work with you before you propose it, right? So it doesn't help to be writing a second grant to try to make the first grant happen, right? So if there's another way that you can do that, is probably best.
I have a question too, please.
Yes, Idris.
For the artist resume, I know I didn't, for my own real resume, I didn't start populating that until 2007, because I didn't have formal like work. My works were informal before I came to the United States. Now for the artist one, I mean, since I work real jobs, how would I go about it, populating it in such a way that it doesn't feel like it has holes in it? Like I released my album in 2009, and then like 4 years later, another album dropped. It's not like I'm not doing anything creative between that time, but it's just a formal way in which my albums were released. Is there a way I can go about it to not make, because when I was doing this, I wasn't thinking about an artist resume. I was just thinking about a resume. So
Yeah, I think
any
that's
advice
okay.
on that?
What you're describing does not seem abnormal for a lot of other artists that I've worked with or artists who are in this program. So I don't think that's a huge concern, but I would be happy to take a look at it when you're ready.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, it's 8:05. Thanks for the extra 5 minutes. I'll post this recording. I'll email you this recording. I'll probably also post it to Facebook if that's helpful. I'll stick around as long as you need me to answer your questions. But if anybody else is ready to move on with their night, see you guys soon.
All right,
Thank
take care.
you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
I
Good to
think
see you
Heidi has a
guys.
question.
I did have one question, Anna. Are you there?
I'm still here. Don't worry. I'm not going anywhere. I think I heard Idris say you had one more question. So Heidi, why don't you ask your question, then we'll go back to Idris.
I just wanted, and I probably don't need to do this, but I just wanted to remind you to put the contributors link on that email that you sent, if you would.
You are correct. I did say that. Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, I look forward to that. This has been really just very peace giving. So thank you.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Let me see that rating again. 1 to 10. How are you feeling? A 1 being okay. I'm seeing some. Okay. Thank you for
Solid
giving me-
6.
Oh, I like that. That's very Heidi of you. I love it. Oh, Lisa jumping on board. Good. Okay. Heidi, did that answer your question?
Yep. Thank you. Good night, all.
Who else had a question?
Take care, guys.
All right.
Thank you. That's all. I was just highlighting that Heidi had one. So
Oh,
thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm good too. So I will
All
talk
right.
to you later. Take care.
All right. Hey guys, have a good night.
Good night.
I know you all are going to watch the premiere of The Bachelorette right now. I know you are.
I don't think so.
Me too.
Thank you, Anna. We appreciate you so much.
Oh,
Thank you.
I love you
And
guys. You guys are
Lisa, I don't
inspiring.
know about you, but if you want to have coffee anytime between you and us, Lisa, if you're up for it, I am. We'll treat you to lunch, but I have lots of personal questions because as I was putting together the budgets and doing all my research, it was, with the glass, it turned into one piece, but I'd like for it to be 10, 10 pieces. And there's a show in October in Indiana that I'd really like to participate in. So I was trying to collaborate the community that way. But the marketing of it, it was, my first attempt was going into Architectural Digest to hit some big builders and architects. And it was $69,000 for a black and white ad. Did you ever imagine?
Deanie.
Huh?
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
don't even know where
I
to
got
begin.
a really reality check of like scaling it back so it's feasible for glass.
So maybe let's think about getting you a story in Architectural Digest instead of paid media.
Yeah.
Were you talking? Okay, sorry, Paige. I was like, I thought you were talking to Lisa when you were saying. Were you talking to Lisa? Or were you talking
I'm
to
just
me?
talking to everybody, but I would really like a meeting with you. But if Lisa wants to go to Indianapolis part way, or if we, I don't want to waste. I just think it's wonderful that you offered
Oh yes.
to
yes.
meet with us and really, and Lisa is in the glass industry as well. So sometimes our equipment, like a very small kiln that is only 14 by 14, when I really priced out a brand new one that I do not have to do any equipment fixing on, it was over the, cost. So, yeah, I have some ideas. I'd like to continue this process, collaborating with something else so that October thing could really happen. So part of making the one piece could be maybe submitting it, but having an actual show at a gallery that's feasible for glass because it's a glass weekend in that town. And I'm the only glass artist so far that I know of that's participating at that gallery.
Oh, I have a million ideas.
I have all kinds of questions.
Yes. Okay. I have a million ideas for you. Let's do
Okay.
it. We'll do like a Southern Indiana brainstorm sesh or something sometime soon.
Okay.
Okay. I'll email, or you email me, or I'll email you. One of us. Find me if I don't find you first. Okay.
Okay. Will do.
Okay.
Hey, Anna.
Hey.
I am looking at I wanted to ask a question. I know it's unrelated to this one right now. The Creative Aging session,
Yeah.
are you going to have an informational session about that, or is it just going to be the virtual one that's happening? And can we participate in that too?
Oh, yeah. The answer is yes, you can definitely participate in that. Let me just do a quick second of website checking and see if I can find any other information for you about information.
I think it's going to be St. Joseph, our foundation or something, the one that's here.
Yeah, it looks like that they're just doing a virtual one so far. Yeah, I think everything is virtual in this program.
Oh, okay. Okay.
If you have questions about it, I'm gonna drop the contact. Well, you see it on there too, but
yes,
Stephanie Haynes. Yeah, Stephanie Haynes is my teammate. She's the Anna for Creative Aging. She's awesome. She's a good person. So feel free to reach out to her. She might be out of the office this week, but she'll go back to me.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Good night, Heidi. Okay, guys, I'll stick around until everybody else signs off. So whenever you're bored, then good night.
I think I had another question, but it slipped my mind. Hold on, please. I'm sorry.
I had one too, but it slipped my mind just like Idris, so. I guess I'm out. Night, guys.
Okay, good night. Night. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't hear you, but good night.
I can't remember. I'll email you when I remember. Thank you very much. I really appreciate this information session. Take
Good.
care.
I'm glad it was useful. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
All right, I'm out, I guess. I love your smock. Oh, she's gone.